All right, what's up, guys? Trevor here, and we are going to talk about optimal and practical. Sure, everyone wants to optimize their training, optimize their sleep, optimize their nutrition, optimize your life. It's kind of a buzzword you hear around in the fitness and nutrition industry, wellness, the biohackers, and all that stuff. But let's face it, life happens. What's optimal is not always going to be practical. It's just the fact of life. Uh, Especially if you, as you get older, now it's like you get whatever. You're out of college. You're not a kid anymore. You buy a house. You start a job, a new career. You have a family. You have kids, a wife, a husband, and yes, it's optimal. Optimized. We want to get 8-9 hours of sleep. We want to move, get 12, 15,000 steps every day, whatever it is. You want to eat quality food at every meal, every day, every time you sit down. You want to train hard constantly. But let's face it, life gets in the way sometimes. It's not always going to be perfect. You don't always control everything. You can't control everything in life. You can control your going to bed and stuff like that for the most part. You can control what you eat. You can't control that you train. But let's face it, again, life happens. Maybe it's sleep. You can't always have the perfect night's sleep. Even if you do go to bed at, let's use me, I go to bed at 8 o'clock and I get up at 5. So I go to bed at 8. Even if I go to bed at 8, that doesn't mean I'm going to have a perfect night's sleep. Rarely ever, because that's been my biggest struggle. And I don't have kids. I don't have a family. I live by myself. So it's just me. So I don't have anything but things that maybe what can keep you up. Noise, loud neighbors, loud guy with his damn pipes that drives down the road in his stupid truck and revs it up right at the stop sign by my house. That type of stuff. Dogs barking. Those types of things. Maybe it's just thinking too much. Mind racing. That's my biggest issue is mind racing. Or maybe I ate something that doesn't agree with me and it keeps me up. Something like that. Or if you do have kids, optimizing sleep isn't always going to happen. You got a newborn baby, you're probably not going to sleep very much. You got dogs and cats and pets galore. They're running into the room, jumping on your bed. They're probably not going to sleep perfectly all the time. So again, life happens. Mess sleep. Yeah, you want to make the best of it. But again, optimal versus practical. Practical is getting what you can, doing what you can, and then if it's not perfect, it's not great, boom, throw it out the window, jump back, try and get back, work to get back on track the next day. Nutrition. If you have kids and stuff like that, luckily my nutrition's good. I don't have to worry about that. Maybe, or you're going out, things like that, going out or family holidays or going to a ball game or something like that. You can always plan ahead, but sometimes stuff gets in the way. Life happens. You get sick. That type of thing where you're not eating all the time, or you're not feeling well, and you're not able to train as hard as you can, or something comes up at work and you got to rush. It's the optimal. Yeah, it's optimal to have, when it comes to your training, this amount of, let's say you're doing sprints. Yeah, you want to rest. The good goal is always, 60 seconds for every 10 yards, something like that. And you're doing sprint, and you're in a rush. You got maybe a half hour or so to get your workout in, and you got to rush through something. So maybe you're going to pull back on some rest a little bit in there, or cut back on some sets. So it's not necessarily optimal, but it's practical for your life at that moment, that day of time, or that day, that moment in time. Something might not be as optimal, but practical. Maybe the practical is the optimal at that time. So you're still getting that workout in, but you're changing some things. It's not quote unquote by the book, which none of my workouts are done by the book anyway. You can always adjust. You can always change. Maybe you were meant to lift. Your coach told you to lift a heavy set, 3 heavy sets of 3 at 90% or 85% of your max. I mean, I don't program by percents very often anyway, but I'm just using an example. And you're just dead tired because you didn't sleep the night before. So maybe that 3x3 is what's optimal, but let's be practical and do what we can. Auto regulate. Learn to listen to your body, whether it's a poor night's sleep, got in a fight at work, kids are driving you up a wall, you're stressed because your bills are doing, you don't have enough money to pay, whatever it is. These things in life happen. And again, we can't do what's always the most optimal thing to help, but we can be practical and get it done. Because again, life happens. There's a blizzard. There you get sick. You work 40 plus hours a week, and then you got kids. You got to chase them around to events, whether it's sports or concerts or school events. So you got to adjust. You might not always get that perfect night of sleep. You might not always get time to sit down and have a good meal. You might have to rush through some things and stuff like that. And that's totally fine. That's what it's about. It's adapting and figuring out your lifestyle and figuring out what's practical for your lifestyle. It doesn't mean this is going to be set in stone forever. Because again, our lives change as that infant grows into a kid that's not as needy, and you don't need to be with them all the time. Or maybe you can change. Whether an infant, maybe you're only able to do 3 days a week training or 2 days a week training. But then as they get older, you're back to 4 days a week or whatever it is, finding something that's more optimal. But again, it's practical for your schedule, for your life. Because a lot of times we just turn these into excuses and then eliminate the training altogether. We eliminate eating well altogether. We eliminate going to bed at all, or even caring about our health all, because we have that new baby. We have a new job. We're busy. And a lot of times busy is just lazy and not prioritizing and making priorities. But I think you can always find time to do something. You can always squeeze in some little workout, moving, walking, get the kids involved, do it on a break, those types of things. You can always find time to make time to eat well. Whether you're in a rush or not, you can still eat well. Fast food does not mean you have to go to McDonald's or Burger King. Fast food could mean grabbing an apple or a banana, those types of things. Again, it's not always optimal, but it's practical for your life. And adjust as you need. Figure out your life in that moment in time. Maybe it's a certain periods of the year are different, and that's awesome. That's what you got to do. You got to learn to adjust. And working with a coach can help you do that. Hopefully a good coach helps you and doesn't just force you into some cookie cutter garbage program like most of them do. And it's doing your best and knowing that you gave your best effort. That's what really matters. And building the habits, because once you have those habits down, it's going to help a lot. Whether that's nutritional habits or sleep habits or just time management habits. Because optimal is not always gonna fit your lifestyle. And when it doesn't, find what's practical and make that work. And that's how you truly, I think, build the best version of yourself. It's finding what works for you in certain moments, certain times of the year, certain days of the week, and building off that and finding what is ideal for your current situation. Again, it's not set in stone. It doesn't have to stay this way forever. It can change. It adapts with you as you adapt, as you build and grow and all that stuff. So what's optimal is not always practical. You can listen to all these biohackers and again telling you this perfect amount of food, this perfect amount of protein, this perfect amount of carbs, all this stuff. Yeah, that stuff can help, but it's not always going to be practical for your life. This perfect time to sleep. You're not always going to have 9-10 hours to sleep. Again, you got a life, you got a real life. Most of these biohackers live in a lab and are fake people anyway. So it's just realize that if you're not optimally doing everything that these influencers, these biohackers tell you, that's totally fine. Do what works for you, make the most of it, do your best, and know that you're giving your best effort. If you can't live with not knowing that you give your best effort and maybe something didn't work out perfectly, that's totally fine. Then we got bigger issues if you're always worried about that. So giving your best effort, it's like, did you bust your butt in a sport, in a game, did you bust your butt, give your best effort, and you didn't win? Well, that's part of it, losing part of it. And, if you can't live with that, then I don't know, you got some other issues. But knowing that you give your best effort at whether it's a sport or whether it's your life, that's what really means the most. And you can always build and grow and learn and move forward. And again, yes, there's optimal stuff, the optimal training, the optimal nutrition, optimal sleep schedule. But again, you have a life, you live a real life. Hopefully, I mean, maybe you live in virtual reality, and if you do, well, good for you. But you got kids, family, a busy career, that type of stuff. But again, you can always do something, and it's about doing what's practical for you at that moment in time, building off that, keep moving forward, and setting priorities and making priorities in your life. If your health is really a priority to you, you will do these things. Again, it doesn't have to be optimal, but it needs to be practical for your life, because that's what's going to allow for you to be consistent, to stick with it, move along, and ultimately make the progress and be the best version of yourself and become an athlete for life. So that's what we have for you today, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Trevor@tagpn.com is my email, or just send a comment below, and we will talk to you again soon.